You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome back to GrammarPoint. I'm Fred Long, and we're looking at purpose constructions. Now, purpose constructions are constructions where you have an expressed means leading to an end. There's some idea of intention here, intentionality involved. Someone is doing something that is done in order that some goal or end is achieved. And so we've been looking at different types of constructions and the importance of them. Different grammarians. Here I'm showing Heinrich von Siebenthal. Here I'm showing Daniel Wals's grammar. Here's Dana and Manti. And here's Smythe's grammar. So many different grammars talk about these constructions. And so in this episode, just want to talk about negation. How do you negate a purpose clause or construction? Well, very simply, you use may. Herbert Smythe talks about different constructions to negate purposes. And one way that we translate them is to use the word lest. And we'll kind of see that. Now, this is a little bit of an old or archaic English, but lest is the equivalent to like in order that not. In order that not, which is kind of cumbersome. So you can see why you'd want to use lest. Now, of these kind of ways that you see negation taking place, the os may, you don't see in the New Testament. So Smythe's grammar is a classical grammar dealing with classical literature. So we actually don't have os may. But we do see opos may, we do see ina may, and we do see just may. And in my understanding, I would suggest that as we're looking at these options of how to negate purpose clauses, that there's actually more prominence as we move up the scale this way. There's going to be more prominence effect. So I'm thinking that those are more prominent. So let's look at some examples of opos may. So here's it in context. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that your fasting will not be noticed by people, but rather by your Father who's in secret, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Now, the construction here is opos may. I'm not really a big fan of so that, because so that is also used for result clauses. So I don't like translating purpose clauses with so that. I think it's too soft. So I would suggest in order that, using in order that, or in such a way that. In such a way that you don't manifest to people you're fasting. So I'm using in such a way that because we're working with opos. Opos is marked plus manner. So I'm just walking around these constructions and we're looking at negation. So you can negate it with may. Now we can also look at ina may construction. So let's look at a couple of examples of ina may. And here's a couple right here from Matthew's Gospel. Do not judge in order that ina may you would not be judged. So here the may is involved in a negative purpose clause. So this is the means, not judging, and this has a goal of not being judged. Now we could replace this in order that not. We could replace that with a lest you be judged. So do not judge lest you would be judged, lest you are judged. So again, lest is one way to express a negative purpose. Now, here's a couple other instances of negative purposes, and this one's a little bit tricky because this is Matthew 12:6. He warned them in order that they not manifest him, or in other words, make him public, in order that they not manifest him. So this is maybe more likely taken as a content clause. And this is where it's kind of interesting. There's verbs of like warning, as we have here, that they're warning with a goal. There's actually a goal, and then that goal is actually the content. So ina can be used to indicate content of verbs of fearing, warning, that kind of thing. So it's interesting. This is a little bit of a gray area where the content is simultaneously also the goal. So the means is the warning itself. He's talking to them saying, hey, don't do this. And then the content is also like a goal that he's arriving at. So anyway, we see ina me there. Now, this also leads to a purpose clause, quite interestingly. This occurred in order that. So it's kind of interesting. You have kind of a piling up, and it's interesting that this warning itself, taken as a whole, this whole thing becomes a means, and then the goal seems to be fulfillment. So when the fulfillment of something, this occurred. It occurred in historic framework as a means of fulfilling. Now that sounds kind of weird. Like, what's the order of things? Well, Isaiah actually spoke first, but then Jesus comes along and then acted in a certain way. And this action, though, becomes a way to recognize the fulfillment. So the recognition of how Jesus acted a certain way is the means of recognizing the goal or the fulfillment. And so that's what we see happening in this verse, in order that. So, so that's... you have a piling up of things, and it's kind of interesting to think of how Jesus acted, how his actions serve as a means, and I think they serve as an observational means to look at scripture fulfillment. So then you can also have, to finish out this episode, just talking about purpose clauses with may, with negation, with purpose clauses, is that you can also just have simply the word may. May itself can be a negative purpose. So the conjunction or the negative adverb may by itself can indicate purpose. So therefore be on the alert, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, whether in the evening or at midnight, or when the rooster crows or in the morning, lest he should come suddenly and find you asleep. Now, I don't like this translation of in case. I can't remember where I got that from. What translation that's from. I think it's from the NASB. I'm going to look for that because I'm kind of intrigued. Yeah, this is Mark 13:36. And this is the NASB translation. So this is Mark 13:35 for Mark, just to fill that out. I think here you can see how may could be translated as lest. Lest. So be on the alert. And this is the means. Means. Be on the alert lest what happens? Lest he should come suddenly and find you asleep. So lest indicates negative purpose. That's one way to translate it here. So this is indeed the goal. The goal is not to be surprised, not to have the master come suddenly. And anyway, so lest can be used, can be used to indicate a negative purpose, and lest is a translation, although it's a little bit archaic. Like we don't use that word in like regular conversation too often, although I guess maybe sometimes we do. So I just wanted to talk about negating purpose clauses. May is the way that you negate. It can stand alone or work with within the construction with ina or opos and that kind of thing. All right, we'll continue next time looking at purpose constructions. I hope you found this helpful.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.